So, TwitchCon happened, and it was kind of a big disaster. So, the big thing that happened was essentially what happened to Emiru. So, if you didn't hear about it, Emiru was hosting a show at TwitchCon, and part of her agreement to have this show was that after the show, she have a meet and greet, of which she did not want to do, but she wanted to keep the show. So in order to do the show, she kept the meet and greet. Well, everything was seemingly going fine at the meet and greet when disaster struck. And this dude literally just walked up to her, kissed her on the face, and then walked away, seemingly walking straight through security and any forms of safety that were there. I mean, this guy could have had anything on him and walked up to Emiru and actually, seriously hurt her. This is a serious, actually really bad failing of security. The way that I've seen meet and greets done at lots of conventions is usually that the person kind of is in a specific area, and then you usually don't get to go in to see the person until the security at the gate area of the line lets you through. So it's only one person at a time, and that the celebrity doesn't get swarmed. Sometimes the person is behind a desk. A lot of times they're behind a desk. But in TwitchCon's case, Emiru was not behind a desk. It was just a little crazy that there was no security within arm's length of her. Generally, when I've done stuff like this, there has been, when I've gone to see famous celebrities, they usually have a lot and they usually have their own. But there seems to have been a moment here where Twitch security was the only people that could be there. I mean, all that stuff could be related to insurance reasons and all of that. And Emiru ended up telling a story about how one of her favorite security guards that she hires was banned from TwitchCon because he laid his hands on somebody, which again is probably an insurance thing, and there's reasons for it because technically it's assault. There's probably reasons that you can't actually do that. Whether or not Emiru not having security ended up being a good reason or not, it just ended up not. So it really didn't matter, right? So Emiru could say whatever she wants now because of what happened to her.
I don't think that Twitch would have put out an official statement if that clip wasn't posted and going viral. And even after the fact that that clip was posted and going viral, as far as I know, the other people who had meet and greets today were not reached out to ask if they wanted extra security or if they even wanted to cancel their meet and greet. Maybe some people were, but I know for a fact Extra Emily wasn't. My personal manager made sure that she had extra security. No one reached out to her. Don't know about everyone, but I know that for a fact.
Needless to say, it was pretty bad. And even worse than that, the guy just literally left right after the event happened. I mean, that's just crazy. This guy should have been literally tackled to the ground after this happened and then taken out in handcuffs by police, considering that was, I mean, that was assault, right? It's just crazy that there's tons of this footage of this guy just walking out of TwitchCon as if nothing happened and then just going home after the event. He should have been escorted out, in hands by people and put into a police car. It's actually kind of crazy that happened. It seems like a huge security failing at TwitchCon, and it's basically resulted in no positive action from TwitchCon or Twitch either. Say what you will about Taylor Lorenz. For some reason, she went to interview Dan Clancy, the CEO of Twitch, and the guy is completely checked out. I don't know why we're interviewing him. Taylor Lorenz should have been sitting now at the head of security and talking to them, because that interview would have been better, because they would have had a much better finger on the pulse of the security, because I would actually like to know why the hell that happened.
Streamers have, especially female streamers, have talked about, the danger that they feel from these sort of toxic, I guess, parasocial kind of creeps. What are you guys doing to prioritize safety? Because I know also a bunch of Twitch content creators said that they were too scared to even come to TwitchCon this year, just in case something like what happened yesterday would happen.
The safety of our creators is the top priority. The challenge we face is a challenge in today's society. It's not limited to Twitch. It extends throughout our society. I do think that when you're live streaming, in many ways, since you control your community and you can ban people, you can make it so that those people that you don't want engaging with you and participating with you aren't there. Okay, it's very different. When I use other short form content and people say all sorts of stuff, well, I can't stop that. But when I live stream, they basically don't bother me.
Look, man, I don't know about you, but I do not know know the difference between somebody who is a parasocial freak in my chat and somebody who's just complimenting me to compliment me. My audience and many streamers' audiences all tend to be really complimentary, and people who are like developing shrines to you and stalking you don't necessarily stand out unless they do something to make themselves stand out, which is really hard and gets exponentially harder the more people you have in your chat with the more complimenting you have going on. I mean, it's not really about what happens on the service of Twitch. It's what happens when you go through security at TwitchCon and having layers of security to protect celebrities that are at an event, the same way you'd protect any celebrity at any event. Streamers are no different than that. So really, this has nothing to do with the streamer's responsibility and everything to do with the venue security and Twitch security. Like, yeah, I can moderate my chat. I do moderate my chat, but I'm not going to know who's a stalker and who's not unless they're saying, I stalk you and you live on blah, 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 Arroyo Lane, New Mexico. What a non-answer. What a terrible non-answer. It's honestly kind of crazy. I feel like Twitch is very sitting and resting on their laurels, given that they're like the biggest name in streaming, but they're really starting to lose ground. I'm really surprised that Amazon hasn't had people come down and start to crack whips. It's honestly kind of surprising. I don't know. It just feels like Twitch kind of talks out of one mouth and says that they're like really protective of their creators, and then does this out of the other mouth and really just makes it just not a good experience. Not that I think Kick or Rumble would do any better, but man, it doesn't really not pay people to be very loyal to Twitch these days. Another thing that happened at this TwitchCon is that tons of VTubers had meet and greets, and unfortunately, during those meet and greets, people gave those VTubers gifts. Now, you would be thinking, based on the prior story, that this is actually going to be about, like, I don't know, some gooning, destruction, horrifying thing, but it's not. Basically, what happened is that Twitch staff just took all these gifts that were given to these VTubers and threw them out at the end of the convention. So all these VTubers had to make all these very sorry tweets saying how they were sorry TwitchCon threw out their stuff, and everybody shook their head and was like, no, that was very bad, Twitch. And again, I just say, like, I know the bread is good, but like, at what level do we start to like make a decision and start to, you know, weigh our options? I mean, you're making hella bank, so transferring to a different platform is kind of a big deal, but the lack of leverage that creators seem to have there is actually kind of astounding, and it doesn't seem like Twitch ever answers any of the problems creators has. I mean, it used to be that way with YouTube for a while, but these days, I mean, I really have a hard time complaining about YouTube. They provide all the tools I need in order to get my job done. They provide ample analytics in places that I need it, along with clear language that makes it easy so that way I could perform as best as I can with as much information as possible. That's pretty much all I wanted, and most of the stuff regarding like demonetization has been kind of ironed out. So, I mean, I don't really have any complaints anymore. It just goes to show you that, like, you know, sometimes complaining to the corporation does work, but it just seems like it doesn't really happen with Twitch. I don't know. It kind of feels like it's two ways at Twitch, right? It feels like you complain at Twitch and then nothing happens, or you complain at Twitch and then other people like finger wag at you for not like being loyal to Twitch, which is just cringe and lame and stupid, and also doesn't solve any of the problems. So, I mean, like, what are you even supposed to do? Because the culture doesn't seem to want to do anything about it, and then the streamers really can't do much about it aside from complain on stream, and those streams don't seem to reach the people they need to reach. And also the CEO just doesn't really seem to care about the platform. But I don't think that this is very surprising at all. I mean, a few years ago, there was tons of rumors that Too-Mad was going to go postal at TwitchCon. Shout out to Too-Mad, may he rest in piss. And not to mention, we could talk about the time at TwitchCon where the lady jumped into the foam pit and like broke her back, because the foam pit was like a thin layer of foam on top of tile, and so she just slammed her back into tile. I don't know, man. I'm just saying that, like, how a convention is run by a corporation is really indicative of how they care about their customers and staff and all of that. It feels like you get a little bit of like, oh, you see behind the mask and you're like, oh, I realize now that this company actually would cut many, many very important safety rails in order to make a quick buck. I don't know. I could see Twitch also throwing the blame at the security firm that might have been running the security at TwitchCon. So it's really up in the air on who's going to be at fault at the end of the day if this ever went anywhere. I doubt it will, and I think this will just get lost in the noise of Twitch drama, especially considering that every like 3 weeks somebody has something to say about like the EHD universe. Anyway, I just thought it would be funny to like collate those prior Twitch dramas that happened at TwitchCon with this year's Twitch drama, because boy, does it seem like things are not going good, and we really see that every time at TwitchCon. It is very interesting to see how VidCon does it too, because VidCon is like not associated with YouTube, so a lot of the blame you can't really throw at YouTube. It's just whatever VidCon does, and it's its own separate thing. But TwitchCon feels very intrinsically linked to Twitch itself, mainly because Twitch has a vested interest in the convention. And it seems like they're cutting corners in ways that put not just creators and customers at risk. And it just definitely shows me that they have probably a lot more security issues, even on the website too, now that I think about it. Anyway, bye.